Okay, I think it's time to call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome all of you here today. I love it when we have a full house, and I see lots of special faces that don't usually visit us. So that's very exciting. Now that we're called to order, Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Ms. Quetch. Here. Mr. Webb.
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mayor Pillion.
Here. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the amended draft agenda as presented. Do we have a motion? Oh, I skipped the pledge. I'm so sorry. Mr. Austin will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I would like to entertain a motion to approve the amended draft agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
So who came first? The motion was presented by Mr. Austin and it was seconded by Mr. Webb. Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch. Aye. Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye. I understand that we have no public comments today that anybody signed up for. Do we have any public comments? Since there are no public comments, we will move on to proclamations. And today we have a proclamation to recognize Multiple Sclerosis Education and Awareness Month. And Mr. Austin is going to read that for us.
Thank you, Mayor. The proclamation, Multiple Sclerosis Education Awareness Month, March of 2023, whereas multiple sclerosis is an unpredictable, often disabling disease of the central nervous system that damages the sheath that surrounds and protects nerve cells, and whereas this damage slows down or blocks messages between the brain and the body, leading to symptoms of MS, including visual disturbances, muscle weakness, trouble with coordination and balance, thinking and memory problems, and sensations such as numbness, prickling, and whereas experts estimate there are nearly 1 million people in the United States diagnosed with MS, and twice as many women than men are affected by MS, and whereas MS can be mild or can cause individuals to lose their ability to write, speak, or walk, and whereas most individuals experience their first symptoms of MS between the ages of 20 and 50, and whereas the exact cause of MS is unknown and there is no cure, but there are treatments for initial attacks, medications, and therapies to improve symptoms, and recently developed drugs to slow the worsening of the disease. And whereas the MS Alliance of Virginia provides programs and services for anyone in Virginia whose life has been affected by MS, and whereas through education, assistance to support groups, special programs and events, and the dissemination of information, the MSAV provides a better informed general population and the means to improve the quality of life for those in Virginia with MS. And whereas the MSAV is a 100% volunteer organization formed to fill the needs of support groups and provide educational programs, activities, and events, and help others start upbeat groups in their communities. And whereas raising public awareness of MS will lead to increased support and services for families in the Commonwealth of Virginia impacted by this disease, now therefore, I, Amanda Pillion, recognize March 2023 as Multiple Sclerosis Education and Awareness Month in the town of Abingdon, and I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens.
Today we have Rhonda Martin, who is here as the co-leader of the Mountain Empire MS Group, and Clarence and Gail Butler. And I'd like to present you with the framed proclamation. We're so glad to have you here. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have no public hearings today. We do have a resolution regarding request for funding by a non-departmental entity. And our town manager, Mr. Cochran, is gonna explain this to us.
Yes, thank you. The new resolution is in your packet. When I was going through the resolution as part of the budgeting process, the existing resolution that we have is 10 years old, and so it's from a previous council or previous direction. And so last year's budget was done prior to my arrival here, but in talking with staff and talking with members of council, the process that's described here is the process that was used for that budget. And so I wanted to put the workflow into a resolution so that we have something current to work from. So in case we get requests from residents or from organizations, we have something we can point them towards. This is just a matter of updating our process.
Do we have any questions? Does anybody have any questions about this?
Mr. Cochran, just explain to me, if you would please, to what extent that you feel that adoption of this resolution would bind the council in being able to make appropriations during the course of the year for unplanned circumstances?
Well, no, so this wouldn't bind you for that, but what
Okay.
this is for is that, right now, we have, groups in the community that have historically had funds. And right now, we still have a resolution on the books that describes a process that we no longer follow. And so I wanted to be able to put this in place in order so they would have something to go by. Currently, we would push things over towards tourism and then let tourism, fund them that way. But with this, like if someone came to me or came to you as a member of a council and requested something, like if it came to me, I would evaluate it and send it to y'all to evaluate. But it doesn't bind you or preclude you from respect or from asking for additional things. But it also, it narrows it down so that, like if a group came to us and said, hey, we're looking for this, I would be able to send them this. But if they also came in and said, hey, we're looking for something additional or it's outside the budget process, because sometimes things don't always happen a year in advance, and then we would just I would take it and then send it to y'all.
There is a council contingency line item in the budget, so.
Yeah.
So you're saying that some of our, just to clarify, that some of our non-departmental funding will still go through tourism. And so that will still be filtered through the tourism budget, but that some of it, like for unplanned events or things that come up during the course of the year between budget cycles, will be brought to, you will look at and decide and bring them to us, and then they will come from council contingency.
Correct, yeah, so if someone, I mean, I can't think of what time, but so after the budget passes, if something happens in August and it needs funding, then I would bring it to y'all and let y'all make a decision. That's what we do have the council contingency for.
Okay.
But this is mainly so that if a group comes to us and wants, who has gotten funding in the past, we can say, this, you know, this is the process that we're going through. And that's what we've done like this past year is, you know, if somebody wanted funding, we would send them through tourism, then Tanya does an awesome job of helping them promote their things.
Yes.
And, so it goes through that way.
And so if they have planned events, then they're gonna talk to us before March 1st, so that we can anticipate that. But then when things come up, they'll just bring them to us as needed.
Yeah, so like if someone came to me, like I said, a week after the budget passes and wants to do something, I would bring that to y'all's attention and we could discuss. So, but that way it just formalizes the process, because right now we're working off the 10-year-old resolution that I sent to y'all.
And this resolution would not bind us from that consideration?
No, this is just, no. All right.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion about this or any more questions?
Is it,
Is that-
in the first bullet there, it says only advertising and promotion. Just wanna make sure everybody's on the same page about that. I think the way that we've done it recently is if someone has an event, then the budget has been done and it's in Tanya's budget.
Right.
They'll approach her and say, I wanna do Halloween on the Hill.
Mm.
And so she'll, enter into an MOU with them and say, you're gonna do X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna allocate $4,000 for Facebook ads, I'm gonna have $2,000, but I think on occasion at least, and Tony would know better than me, but, you know, if they need, I don't know, a blow-up pumpkin, and we're gonna pay for a blow-up pumpkin, then she would say, sure, I'll write a check to the rental company for $500 to help you out for that part. So I don't know if
Now, that might restrict us.
advertising and
Yeah,
promotion
if we can-
exactly is,
If
it
we-
may be a little bit outside just those two little things, but if you guys wanna limit it to that, then that's fine by me, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, if we can expand it to even more inclusive, that's fine too. I just wanna have something to, and what wording would work for you.
Yeah.
Could we say we prefer that it be utilized for advertising and promotion and leave a loophole that there may be other things that arise?
I like that suggestion, something along those lines.
Yeah, so I have that motion and,
Primarily instead of solely.
yeah, that's fine. Does that work?
Agree with that?
And then that leaves us a loophole, so if somebody, say, needs money to rent a stage, or needs money for prizes for KIP, then we
Yeah.
can fund those things if need be. Then it doesn't pigeonhole us.
That'll work.
Okay.
All right. So, motion with an amendment or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? And these are not just for, are these for tourism requests only, or are these for all non-departmental requests?
Well, then one, the non-departmental, yeah, this is going through tourism, so things that are, like in the past year, we helped, with the William King with the motorcycle, expo, things along those lines, and,
Okay.
and some of the, other ones, like the barter, we assist them, and so I've talked to their folks, and we can run their advertising through, our, tourism in order to help track tourism and stuff.
Okay. All right. Do we have any further questions? So if we're ready, then I will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution of the council for the town of Abingdon regarding requests for funding by non-departmental entities.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
And would you specify the amendment one more time, as you've made
I
notes
just
over it?
suggested instead of that first bullet saying solely, say primarily.
Requested funding must be primarily utilized for advertising and promotion. Is that, that's the only amendment, correct? Okay, so do we have a motion to pass the amended resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? So the motion was made by Ms. Quetch and seconded by Mr. Webb. Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch. Aye. Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye. We have no ordinances to discuss today. We do have a consideration of bids for on-call engineering and professional services. And Mayana Rice, our Assistant Town Manager and Director of Community Development, is going to discuss that for us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I'll just talk a little bit about how we ended up here. As we all know, Tyler Vinsel left us, had a higher calling, so we couldn't argue with that too much, but we did lose a great town engineer. We also obviously have had low unemployment rates for the last 6 months, and so we didn't get any real viable candidates. I think we interviewed one person, and so as we were trying to decide what we were gonna do with the engineering position, we waited about 6 months to see what our workload was, to see, you know, what had he been doing, where were we missing out. And one of the things that we found is that most of our engineering projects are really handled contractually. So we'll have a large scale project and then there's engineers that work on it. What we did find in our arsenal was Hagen Gill, and we have promoted him in the last 6 months to our senior engineering tech. So he's been handling many of the items. He does not have a PE license, so he's not an engineer. That's why it's an engineering tech. but he's handling, you know, our MS4 permitting process. He's handling some of the stormwater, encroachments, driveway permits, and some of the small site plan review. So we have large scale projects, we have what Hagen's doing, and you know, what's in between. And that's really where, Tyler leaving, we need that middle piece handled. That is, you know, staff town questions. That's running out to a hill that's sloughed off behind, you know, one of our alleys. That's having somebody who can take a larger scale plan review for an apartment building and tell us, you know, has it been laid out correctly? Is there stormwater accurate? So it's a lot more of the things that a day-to-day engineer would do. So we chose to put this out for bid. So unlike a true like on-call where there's a problem and they give us a bid and then we choose to spend the money or not, this is really going to be a set budget for a year. It's going to be, you know, less than what a town engineer actually costs us, because we've put a little less in the budget. And this firm will be our town engineer. We had 6 firms apply. We interviewed our top 3 firms. The scores were extremely close. It was like just within a couple of points, and through that, the interview panel chose the Lane Group. So we see the benefits of hiring them, their location and proximity to town hall. Out of all the engineering firms that did apply, they were the ones that we felt that they would run over, they could help us, you know, we could call them up and say, can you come over and take a look at that? Can you sit in a meeting with us? Can you talk to us about somebody wanting to put in a new bridge on their property? You know, somebody that's really easy to work with. Another key thing, and it's a question we asked all of those that we interviewed, was could they work within that tight budget? You know, could they be basically filling that gap, but within a, you know, a $50,000 budget? So they agreed to that. And so right now, today, we are requesting that town council agree with us and allow us to hire the Lane Group as our town engineer. And if you have any questions about it or the process, I'm more than happy to answer those.
And the one thing I want to mention is during that 6-month window, we were trying to gauge our need. Was it about 8?
Yeah, we
roughly?
have only really had one, it was like a third phase of a subdivision that came through for some townhouses, and so that's pretty much the only thing that we truly utilized. And then we have kept Tyler on the dole, so to speak, to do some consulting work for us. So he does come in 2 to 5 hours in a 2-week time frame to help us with questions. In fact, he was just here last week with the bridge project that Hagen and him were handling. So you know, he does have a full-time job. He agreed to do that graciously until we were able to find a solution for his replacement.
So he will not continue to do
We
that?
have him on for a 6-month time frame, and we can either phase that out immediately or we can keep him on
And
until we're
frankly, I mean,
comfortable.
his rate is,
He
and his
does have a
institutional
good rate.
knowledge is really good too. That's the key. He was here for so long, but having the on-call even during that 6-month period, what we paid out was nowhere near what we were paying. So it's a way to get the best of both worlds for us, I believe, at a nice rate as well.
Correct. It saves on the budget. We are able to also promote an employee, and we think that we're getting a really great service from our contracts.
Mhm.
So.
Okay. Do we have any more questions about this? Okay, so if we have no more discussion and we are ready to do so, I will entertain a motion to accept the bid between the town of Abingdon and the Lane Group.
So moved.
Have a second? Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Austin, second by Vice Mayor Anderson. Do we have any discussion? Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pilian.
Aye. So under new business, we have a presentation from Ryan Henderson from the Virginia Highlands Festival.
Right, change.
That looks like Susan Moulton.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Moore, the co-chair of the Culinary Committee of the Virginia Highlands Festival. and I'm delighted to be here today to talk about Restaurant Week. Dee Dee Cole is also here from the festival if you have broader questions about the festival in general. My husband Bill Baker and I moved to Abingdon almost 30 years ago when Bill was recruited to Johnson Memorial Hospital. When we both retired from Ballard Health in 2021, we were surprised how often we were asked, "Are you going to stay here now you're retired?" Of course we plan to stay. We love Abingdon. We particularly love our celebrated small town culinary scene. So when I was asked to join the Virginia Highlands Festival Culinary Committee in late 2022, I happily agreed. This year, the festival has a wonderful array of culinary events planned, from elevated Appalachian fine dining to celebrating our vibrant farm-to-table culture. We kick off with Restaurant Week. The celebration of our small town food scene starts on March the 17th and runs through the 26th. The town partnered with the festival to highlight and showcase our more than 30 independent restaurants and eateries by elevating a signature dish. This signature represents each participating restaurant. William Denton from White Birch has been our restaurateur champion and has provided yeoman service in this arena. During Restaurant Week this year, we are encouraging patrons to take photographs, tag it to Abingdon Restaurant Week, and upload it to our landing page. The best photos will win tickets to Table Talk, our celebrity chef event, or the kitchen tour, which is returning this year. Early next week, the landing page with these signatures, photos, videos from our restaurants, and other things culinary will be available. The social media campaign will launch at the same time. We have, we have participation posters and table tents alerting patrons to our competition and to our celebrity table talk and Appalachian supper, which kick off the festival proper this year. We have postcards to leave for our businesses, and the press release goes out tomorrow. Our goal is, of course, to drive business to restaurants during a traditionally slow time. I do need to share with the council several conversations I've had with restaurateurs who are interested in taking Restaurant Week to the next level. They asked that we consider using a consultant who specializes in small town tourism to help shape and plan for future restaurant weeks. Obviously, additional traffic to our restaurants and eateries helps our businesses and our town through hospitality taxes. The Culinary Committee would very much like to investigate grants or other sources of revenue so that in partnership with the town and our restaurateurs, we can imagine Restaurant Week for the future. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Are you doing t-shirts again this year for Restaurant Week?
We're not doing t-shirts this year. There was lots of discussion back and forth, but we can certainly entertain it for the future. There was a cost to the restaurants, and this year we wanted to make things very simple, very easy for our restaurateurs who were coming off of COVID, dealing with thin staffing. We just wanted it to be as simple for our restaurateur partners as we could.
I actually sit in on that meeting with you. Good to see you again. I thought that was a very positive meeting, and
Yes.
I hope that we can get everything to work out the way that we had planned through the meeting.
Well, I thank you. I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
the involvement of the restaurateurs is absolutely essential in this
it is.
going forward.
Yes, it is.
Did you all happen to talk about how much it may cost to hire this consultant specialist?
We have just literally had the request as we've been planning for this year. And certainly this is beyond the scope of the sort of thing that I typically do. We're gonna have to get some professionals involved in the discussion, but Dee Dee and I have already talked, and we'd love to partner with the town to look at some grants or some soft money to support this. Dee Dee has some suggestions about some avenues for that, but I think there'll be some due diligence around that request. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just so you know, when we filmed our Mondays with the mayor last week, Susan and I filmed a little blurb, and William didn't join us, so watch out for that on Facebook. So she's gonna tell us a little more about Restaurant Week on social media. So
Thank
thank
you.
you again
Such a
for doing that.
hand.
Okay, so that brings us to old business, of which we have none on the agenda, but we do have business and communications from the town manager.
Sure, so I have outside, George, Jorge. So I'm terrible with names, well, it's just a matter of pronunciation. But so a couple months ago, or, well, it's been, it's about a year or so now, so the federal government changed the rules on getting a Class A or getting any kind of CDL. It used to be that if I wanted to get a CDL and he had a CDL, he could teach me and I could learn and test up. Well, those rules went away, so now you have to pay $4,500, give or take, to become a CDL, and frankly, that's a lot of money. And so what we did, because I wanted to be able to promote and develop staff, and I can tell you one thing, a CDL is hard. I mean, if you have one, you've got a guaranteed income, and they're very difficult to find right now, particularly with the roughly 3% full employment is what it seems like in this state. So we put it out to staff, and George was working in Jorge. So I have a friend named Jorge, but he goes by Jorge, and then one named George. So was it George? Or, anyway. So yeah, this guy. So anyway, this guy puts in for it, and he takes us up on it. We paid for him to go. He took the class, and he passed. And now he's so when you see the vacuum truck driving by at about 3 miles an hour, this is him driving through at about 3 miles an hour.
Sometimes the speed limit is 20 miles.
Yeah, sometimes 5 miles an hour, yeah. But anyway, so he now has the CDL, and if you notice, the Class B CDLs that we have, these are the guys that operate our heavy equipment, our garbage trucks, the street sweepers, all the things that make Abington as pretty as it is. If we didn't have CDL drivers, it wouldn't happen. The snow clearing equipment, although we were cheated on snow this year. But we
Still happening.
Still.
No, we didn't get CDL.
So, anyway, I just wanted to introduce him because he went through the process and he works for us and he's just done a great job and we're just glad to have him. And so, well, thank you.
And now we're gonna have Kyle Pollard come and tell us about the Meadows Inclusive Program, and he has some special help.
It's not just me today. So over the past few months, I've had the privilege of working with some of these young people here on some pretty fun stuff. So playground advancement over at the Meadows. And before I get too far into it, I think we have some that want to say a couple words. If that's
Sure.
okay. Do you want to go? I can hold it for you.
Okay. Madam Mayor and council members, thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Grayson Ely. I'm in 5th grade at Watauga Elementary School. I'm here to thank you for your continued support of the all-accessible playground at the Meadows Sports Complex. My friends and I, along with so many other kids in our area, will benefit so much from this playground. Several of us who are here today helped with the design. I look forward to watching it being built and playing on it very soon. Thank you again for caring about our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emma, do you want
I enjoyed being on the playground committee, and I love the playground design that we picked out, and I think there's something for everyone here. Thank you.
to? Yes. Did you want to say? You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I just want to, I'm Stacy Ely. I'm the Managing Director for Community and Government Affairs for Ballad Health and Nicewater Children's Hospital. And on behalf of our health system, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to partner with the town to bring this to fruition. Encouraging exercise and physical fitness and health in our children and our next generation is so important. And to have the town come alongside of us and partner to do this, we're just super excited and happy to be here with you today, and very grateful to have a town council and a community that cares about our kids as much as you guys do. And just shameless plug, Nicewater Radiothon starts next week, so pull out your list of contacts and make some phone calls and help us raise a little bit of money to expand the children's hospital.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you all have a copy of the plan.
Yeah, you do.
We did. We did.
So I can tell you a little bit about what we did. We have this big playground book here, and we painlessly went through each page. When I said we, I mean we, picking out what they're interested in, what looks fun. I'm probably too old to be on the playground. These are the experts for us, and we worked with Cunningham Recreation to help put that design together that you all are seeing now. So it's a mixture of, what's there is great, but what we will have, they'll come and remove the existing surface. We'll have it's pour-in-place rubber flooring, so it's super accessible. Swing sets, which I think from the feedback was very important to these guys here. So it's a good mixture of inclusive and then traditional playgrounds. So that's the plan we have.
Did you guys have so much fun? And even when you don't play on the playground anymore, you can go by and say, I'm so proud I helped design this. It's so
For a really
exciting.
long time.
Yes.
You guys have done a wonderful thing. Have you considered disabled children?
I think there's on the design, it's on the design. We got that taken care of.
So now it's the wood flooring, this will be a rubber flooring. These are accessible swings,
Very nice.
I didn't explain that that's what we mean by inclusive, and I should
Yes.
have. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry. No, and that was the goal of the entire project, is to have a playground that all the kids can enjoy.
Thank you, Kyle. Kyle, wonderful job,
We got
Kyle.
certificates.
And Kyle,
picking out playgrounds.
Don't
nice,
sit down
nice
yet.
groove that you have there too, Kyle. Great.
They're a little hard to control.
I know the two little ones anyway, they are.
Okay, yeah.
Wait. We've got something for you guys.
They have something.
We have something to thank you for your help.
Betty, you're looking like Michael Jordan today. You're hanging in there today, Betty Jo. Wow. Scared me.
Okay, when I give you your things, if you'll come stand right here, we'll take a picture when we're finished. Okay?
All right, we've got Emma Wilson.
Grayson Ely. We've got Mary Jane Anderson.
Oh, Mary Jane, congratulations.
Betty
Mary.
Jo Anderson.
Oh, Betty Jo.
And Miss Carrington Wynn.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, put it on mine. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Kyle.
It's true.
Kyle, you're doing a great job up at the rec center too, Kyle. Thank you for all your hard work, Kyle.
Go ahead.
So cute. Okay. Now we have some more information from Mr. Cochran about the consideration of the appropriation of money from the council contingency for the poured-in-place safety surfacing for the playground.
Yeah, so when we started this program with the inclusive playground, one of the things we have is kind of a heavy-duty maintenance item, but our existing surface there, while it meets the current criteria, it doesn't, it's more of a non-splintering wood chip. So because of the cost of that and the fact that it needs to get upgraded anyway, so we could be able to use the ballot money for the playground just itself. So what we had discussed was having, using the council contingency account for the rubberized surface, and that way all the playground is strictly playground. So that, because the kids, we want them to be able to design something that they all could use and whatnot. So basically, we have the council contingency, which is just within budget, and then so appropriate that towards the surface.
Do you have any questions about that from the council? So I will entertain a motion to designate $60,000 from the council contingency to, for the poured-in-place safety surfacing for the playground. We have a motion from Mr. Anderson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Webb. No discussion? Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin?
After that presentation, who could vote otherwise than?
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pillier?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is the appropriation of the Ballad Health sponsorship of $100,000 for an exclusive playground at the Meadows. And Mr. Trotman, our Director of Finance, is going to explain this to us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. That was a great presentation, and I'm very, very grateful to Ballad Health for their generous donation. I'm looking forward to my granddaughter Willow being able to use the playground, as well as my grandsons from Chicago when they finally come to visit, Ford and Jameson. It's going to be a beautiful playground. As y'all just made the appropriation of $60,000 out of the council contingency, because of the generous donation from Ballad, we had unbudgeted revenue of $100,000 that also needs to be appropriated for their restricted purpose, of course, which is for this inclusive playground or accessible playground. So pretty easy lift, as was the last appropriation, and that's basically appropriating unbudgeted revenue of $100,000 from Ballad for the purpose of completing the accessible playground. Questions?
Do we have any questions? Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve payment to Cunningham Recreation for the inclusive playground equipment and installation and the poured-in-place safety surfacing.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second? So the motion by Mr. Webb, the second by Mr. Anderson. Do we have any discussion? Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mrs. Quetch? Aye. Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pillier?
Aye. I'm so excited about this playground. It's gonna be super cool, right? Yeah? Okay, moving
When will
on.
the- Excuse me, when will the opening be for? When do we expect?
So if we get on the list now, which I'll make that happen, they think the construction will start in June, and it's right out of 2-week process, so middle of June.
That's very fast for today's, yeah, that's great. So exciting. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consideration of Virginia Resources Authority, Administrator of the Virginia Water Facilities Revolving Fund Financing Agreement. Mr. Cochran.
Yes, so we have different funding sources that we have, and this one is a $3.36 million loan from the DEQ. I understand, Chief, they're pass-through ARPA money from the feds, but it's.
Yeah, it's from BRA. They may have been able to access ARPA funds through the state.
Yeah.
But it's not our ARPA money.
Yeah, no, correct, yeah. And this is forgivable.
Right, it's DEQ has a grant, so this is $3.365 million. 75% of that will be loan forgiveness from DEQ. The remaining 25% will be at 0% interest for 30 years. So this is certainly a much needed source of funding for the wastewater plant. It's actually for the SES, the I&I issues that we've been facing through town. But this is phase one of a major project that's going to carry on for many years. But 30 years, 0% interest, 25% of that loan amount. So
Pretty amazing.
maybe they'll help us finance some cars too, because those rates are much higher.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay, do we have any questions about this? Having no questions, I will entertain a motion to authorize the town manager to execute any documents associated with the Virginia Resource Authority, the administrator of the Virginia Facilities Revolving Fund Financing Agreement.
So moved.
I'll second.
So motion by Mr. Austin, second by Mr. Anderson. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch? Aye. Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye. Now we have a consideration of appropriation of ARPA funds to council contingency in the amount of $328,771 as expenditure for a trash truck. So Mr. Trotman, once again.
Okay, if y'all will recall, back in November, well, first of all, let me back up just a little bit more. When we did the budget for this current fiscal year, we deferred the purchase of the trash truck because we were told it would be 2 years down the road before we would have access to one. As luck would have it, we were able to secure articulated arm trash truck as a replacement in November. And we took delivery, and it's on the streets, and it's doing a great job. At that time, at the direction of the Finance Committee of the Council, we had looked at some personnel savings for the first quarter of the year because we had a lot of unfilled open headcount. So we were under budget on our personnel. And so we moved some money that would have been budgeted for personnel for that first quarter only, and we moved it to the council contingency so that y'all could fund that truck out of the council contingency. So there was zero impact to the bottom line budget, okay? Since then, we felt like it was an appropriate and eligible use of ARPA funds to pay for that trash truck. So this is basically moving ARPA funds back to the council contingency, which would free up money in the general fund for y'all to use for other purposes. But we would be using ARPA funds. Now, if you'll recall, we had 4 primary projects from ARPA, but one of those was the Green Spring Road realignment, which is really so far into the future that we're gonna use ARPA funds to make it a shovel-ready project, but that's gonna leave available ARPA money for things like this, which is really much needed. Like I said, it's on the road now, doing a great job. So this is basically shifting it from ARPA. So it's gonna show up in the ARPA fund as an expense, and then it'll show up as a replacement revenue in the general fund. So, any questions on that? Just to let you know, we have, as a non-entitlement unit, the town, we have to report to the U.S. Treasury once a year, and that report is due at the end of April, and it will be for all of our expenditures over the last 12 months through the end of March. And so this would be captured in and reported to the U.S. Treasury as an eligible purchase.
Okay. Do we have a motion to appropriate these funds to council appropriate ARPA funds to council? I'm gonna start over. Do we have a motion to appropriate the ARPA funds to council contingency in the amount of $328,771 as an expenditure for our new trash truck?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So, motion by Mr. Webb, second by Mr. Anderson. Is there any discussion? Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch? Aye. Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye.
Did you say aye?
Mhm. I'm sorry, did you hear me? Aye.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so now we have council member reports.
I'll start. Oh,
Go ahead.
You go first.
well, first of all, I'd like to say, I attended the father-daughter dance at the Cultural Center last Friday. Tina Murray and the whole crew out there at the Cultural Center done a wonderful job. I think it was about 150 or 160 tickets that were sold out there. And, you know, so you had 160 fathers out there as well as 160 plus daughters as well. And that went really well. That was last Friday from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock. Service was good. They took pictures of everyone. Everyone got pictures with their daughters. Dance, just can't say anything else more than everyone out there at the Culture Center done a wonderful job with that. On the other half, I attended a veterans meeting with fellow councilman Mr. Austin Monday. I thought that went very well. I don't know what you thought about that, Mr. Austin.
Yes, sir.
But one thing that the veterans was really appreciative of was the last meeting we had, Mr. Austin had asked if we could maybe start having their meetings here at the town hall, and they were very pleased with that. There was lots of things and lots of appreciation for that, so I just want to thank Councilman Austin for bringing that up, and then for everyone and on the council and everyone as well at town hall for letting the veterans come back to the town hall.
We're glad to have them.
Yes, sir. And I'll pass that on next to Donna.
Well, Amanda and I attended a community leadership luncheon at the Cornerstone Christian Academy, and we appreciate them inviting us. It was a very nice luncheon, well attended. And also yesterday, we had a tour day for lodging tour day, and I just want to say it was an awesome day. There was 30 of us, I believe, an awesome group. And just a big shout out to Tanya. She did a great job of putting this together. Also Chad, he was there. So it was just a perfect day for this tour.
And actually, I went on the tour today, and I forgot. I've been so wrapped up in the fantasy of the town of Abilene. It was a wonderful tour. It was a wonderful. I forgot that I was even in Abilene, but big shout out to Tanya for that one as well too. It was like a brain freeze to have to turn around and leave Rick Humphrey's place, Taylor's Lodge, and zoom right in here to the town council meeting. But that was really great too. Thank you for bringing that up. Real good job by Tanya and Chad as well, organizing that. And I think today we had maybe 19 people. I don't know about yesterday, but it was 19 people and 19 people in my group today. So a really great turnout. And thanks to the Girl in the Raven, they had coffee for everyone today, and they also did a box lunch as well too. So thank you to Hugh and Julie.
And all the homeowners too.
And exactly.
I think White Birch did our food yesterday. They donated the lunches yesterday.
Okay,
So
it was the Girl in the Raven today, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful event. And like you said, thanks to everyone who let us come into their house and treat us as if we were part of their families. Really nice.
Sure. And so I got the opportunity to have breakfast with the Veterans Advisory Board a couple of weeks ago. They are starting a new monthly breakfast meeting. Any and all are welcome, and they had 12 or 15 veterans show up that morning, first time out. So it was really a good group, very spirited, and just a great place to be if you're a veteran or anybody who's interested in veterans, and we're just very grateful for that committee. Also got to experience my first tree commission meeting this week on Monday night, and the always ever enthused Mr. Sigmund was there, and I learned a lot about trees. I am no expert, but I do have a deep found appreciation for Mr. Sigmund's enthusiasm, and they do have some very exciting programs going on this year, including the tree giveaway, so keep your ears open for that. Plug in for Kevin. But that's about it for the past couple of weeks.
I'd like to just add to what Mr. Anderson said regarding the veterans meeting that we attended Monday night. I'd also like to thank Kim for coming in on a holiday to let us into the town hall. That was very kind of you. We do appreciate that.
Anytime.
They're expecting for Memorial Day this year a very nice ceremony. They are hopeful and very optimistic that we'll be able to have a flyover during the ceremony, and I think that'll be very important. So look for those advertisements to come out in the very near future in regards to it. Thank you.
I was trying to get my notes. I wanted to reiterate that the they call it FAM tour, is a familiarity tour that we went on yesterday, and it was fantastic. It was so neat. I've heard about all of our wonderful bed and breakfasts, and I've seen some of them, or bed and breakfast Airbnbs. I always call them bed and breakfast, but I don't think that's what they are anymore. Anyway, we got to go into all these really beautiful houses, and I was very taken by the fact that each one of them has a different, as my kids would say, aesthetic. They all have a different vibe. You know, some of them were very colonial, some of them were very modern. It was really interesting. So I was thrilled to get to see inside all of those places. And it was fun to have all the people from, I think we had a lot of people from welcome centers in the area. And so it was fun to meet all of those people and hear about the work they're doing. So that was great. And I'm trying to find my notes. We had a Veterans Advisory Board meeting last week, and we talked about various ways that we can support the Memorial Day program. And we also talked about the breakfast, and the next one, they're the first Tuesday. That's correct. The first Tuesday, and it's at Food City. March 29th is Vietnam Veterans Day. And that is about all that we talked about, I think. We talked about doing flags once more for Memorial Day and the possibility of having hot dogs, but we are exploring that. So that is basically what I have from the committees that I have attended. Does anybody else have anything? And I want to say again, I'm so excited about the playground. I think it's going to be that the splash pad and the playground are going to be just the cherry on top for the Meadows. It's going to just make it extra special. So very exciting. Lots of good stuff happening. So now we need to go into closed session in order to discuss appointments to boards and committees, and also to discuss a matter involving a prospective business not yet discussed. So would you like to read us into closed session? We will do both of these in one motion. So we will go into closed session pursuant to, you can start right there, this one and this one.
Right here.
Mhm.
If council,
Right here.
closed session pursuant in Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, section 2.2-3711A1, for the purpose of considering applications for appointments, reappointments, the positions on the Historic Preservation Review Board, Substantial Avenue and Tourism Advisory Committee.
And then also in the same motion, we'll do that.
Closed session in the State Virginia Code of 2.2-3711A4 in the matter involving a prospective business not yet disclosed.
Okay. So we will take that as Mr. Anderson's motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Quetch, second. Do we have any discussion? Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye. And we'll stay in council chambers since there's going to be a large group of us.
Ms. Pillion.
Okay, we ready?
Come back in.
I'd make a motion to reconvene
I'll second.
in open session.
So, motion by Mr. Webb, second by Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye.
Kim, would you like me to certify?
Yes, sir.
I move that the town council certify that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
Mr. Austin, do you so certify?
I do.
Ms. Quetch?
I so certify.
Mr. Webb?
I so certify.
Mr. Anderson?
I so certify.
And Mayor Pillion.
I so certify. Okay, so we need to appoint some people to some boards and committees. Do we have a motion on the table to do so?
Well, I've got a motion to appoint Christy Hartshorn to the Historic Preservation, Brooke Bunn to the Historic Preservation, Kevin Sigmund to Sustainable Admin, and David Dalton to the Tourism Advisory Committee, Bed and Breakfast Tourist Advisory Committee.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Kim, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Ms. Quetch?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
And Mayor Pillion.
Aye. So,
Mayor, I'd like to, before you move on, I'd just like to publicly thank Byron Geisler for his service on the Preservation Committee. He, I know over the years, he has done just a tremendous job on that, and it's a thankless task. And many times, he spent a lot of his spare time doing that. And I truly thank him for his service to the town and look forward to him being able to return to other committees in the near future.
hear, hear. Agreed. Do we have any other discussion? I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.